The next generation of high-performance AI, BNZutu, discovers the canonical representation, the minimal set of dimensions, that is, canonical system variables, that fully describe collective, that is, complex systems. BNZ Energy is making New Mexico the new Texas of sustainable energy, built on a foundation of BNZutu, true generative artificial intelligence that uses watts, not megawatts. There has been widespread adoption of AI, but AI is running into hard limits with respect to energy consumption, data requirements, and architecture. Architecture that limits the performance or fidelity. In other words, current AI is limited to suboptimal performance. The next generation AI that is redesigned to break through, that is, remove these limits, will rapidly be adopted due to this existing demand. The current statistical equilibrium approach that started in the early 1980s with Hopfield networks, also known as Boltzmann machines, has reached its NP-hard upper bounds over the past 45 years. As Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, says, we're moving beyond the era where bigger alone makes LLMs better. We have reached a technological dead end. The same is true of fusion energy target and drive design. The current statistical equilibrium approach that started in the early 1950s with the Teller-Ulam design and the Metropolis-Rosenbluth method, also known as thermal nuclear fusion, has reached its upper bound on yield over the past 80 years. No longer can we improve by making things bigger. We have reached a technological dead end. The same dead end as for AI. It is time to think different. To come up with new ideas that remove the technological roadblocks. To move away from ever bigger probabilistic models so that the behavior or topology, that is the dynamics or geometry of the real world, is understood. To see through the complexity of the real world, uncovering the underlying simplicity. To not passively generate the monolithic least common denominator of the real world, but actively control and optimize the real world. To relax the homogeneous linear assumption of statistical equilibrium so that the nonlinear diversity and performance of the optimal dynamical equilibrium can be reached and maintained. To boldly go where no man has gone before. As Ilya Sutskever, the former co-founder and chief scientist of OpenAI, says, everyone is looking for the next thing. AI's bottleneck is ideas, not compute. Once the upper bound is removed, the sky is the limit for AI. As Jan LeCun, founder of AMI Labs and former chief AI scientist of Meta, says, today's machine learning sucks. It really sucks when compared to what humans and animals can do. It requires an insane amount of trials. It does not reason nor plan. It does not know how the world works. How come a 10-year-old can clear the table and load the dishwasher, but a robot cannot do this task? Why are we boiling small lakes to train it when the human brain uses 20 watts? So let's think different. Let's find the next generation of AI. Let's break through the technical roadblocks so that AI can reach its potential and be truly intelligent.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
We have thought different and come up with BNZutu, which learns real-world behavior. It understands system behavior instead of relying on correlation-based learning. That is, what it has seen in the past. It can predict future outcomes. BNZutu is Canonical Gen AI. Canonical Gen AI is at the intersection of mathematics, physics, and AI. It is a true cross-fertilization. It is bilateral, not one way. Successful methods of generative artificial intelligence, that is, GPTs, deep Q networks, and the scattering transformation, gave clues to the solution to both an outstanding math problem, that is, finding a topological metric, and an outstanding physics problem, that is, finding a logical mathematical process of renormalization, a problem identified by Dirac. Meanwhile, mathematics, that is, topology, exterior calculus, symplectic geometry, and Lie groups, combined with physics, that is, the action, nonlinear dynamics, complex systems, and physical kinetics, leads to the geometry of physics. The intersection of the three leads to Canonical Gen AI, which is the characterization and control of the topology of collective systems, including physical systems like plasmas, fluids, and elementary fields. The BNZutu breakthrough removes the roadblock to AI and therefore the roadblock to high-gain fusion energy target and drive design. The resulting solution, Canonical Gen AI, is simple and obvious. That is, obvious after the discovery. Truth is simple and obvious, Occam's razor. It is also found at the intersection of scientific disciplines. The invention came from rigorous science combining mathematics and physics. The resulting scientific approach has been validated in the space of fusion target and drive design, addressing a problem that cannot be feasibly solved using current AI. The combination of scientific rigor with the validation led to the generation of robust patents that protect the invention. One should remember alchemy, that is empiricism, is benchmarked. Science is tested, that is validated. BNZutu is a business and scientific advisor, an oracle. The product of BNZ Energy Incorporated will be BNZutu, with 3 patents pending. The next generation, energy efficient, generative artificial intelligence that replaces the trillion parameter deep convolutional neural network models with a formula. BNZutu is a controller of collective, that is complex, systems. BNZutu, the oracle, will tell you things that have significant value. Make this investment, make that trade. Build a fusion reactor like this. Form your qubits by doing this. Drill your well at this location. By the way, a synonym for Canonical is Ubuntu-based. That is based on the Ubuntu philosophy or the interconnectedness of the collective system. Ubuntu is a Zulu word from South Africa. The equivalent Swahili word from Kenya and Tanzania is Utu. That is why the product is called BNZutu, because it is BNZ's Utu. Here is Nelson Mandela explaining what the spirit of Ubuntu is.
Many people regard you as a personification of Ubuntu. What do you understand Ubuntu to be?
In the old days when we were young, a traveler through a country would stop at a village and he didn't have to ask for food or for water. Once he stops, the people give him food, entertain him. That is one aspect of Ubuntu, but it will have various aspects. Ubuntu does not mean that people should not enrich themselves. The question, therefore, is, are you going to do so in order to enable the community around you to be able to improve? These are the important things in life. And if one can do that, you have done something very important which will be appreciated.
This patented technical breakthrough, BNZutu, should be expected given, first, my technical credentials and proven 30-year history of delivery of valuable AI. Second, the energy consumption, data requirements, and performance of the human brain. And third, the simplicity of the solution that is at the intersection of physics, math, and AI. BNZutu moves from statistical pattern learning over 100,000 or more field parameters to physics-based topological learning of collective system behavior over 10 to 100 canonical system variables. It learns from the video of 100 golf putts, not a trillion data points that cover every square inch of the putting green from every direction with every speed. Here is the video of 5 such putts on the 18th green of Augusta National Golf Club in 1997, 2001, 2002, 2005, and 2019.
There it is, a win for the ages. There it is, as grand as it gets. And Tiger has his slam. Well, it's the year of the Tiger again at Augusta. Look out! What a finish! Many doubted we'd ever see it. But here it is. The return to glory.
It has a zero-parameter formula instead of the trillion-parameter deep convolutional neural network models of the current generation of AI. The following fusion energy proof of scientific concept, that is, scientific validation, demonstrates how the structure of the plasma MHD dynamics can be reduced from 100,000 field parameters to 7 canonical system variables. It learned this video from videos of 500 plasma evolutions, that is, plasma putts. But before we move on to this concrete example, let us talk about what intelligence is. Generative artificial intelligence is a question of the topological characterization and control of the real world. This is true of physics, economics, language, and so on. Explicitly, physics is a question of determining the analytic function called the action. Knowing the action is equivalent to knowing the topology of the associated manifold, the topology of the physics. This action is the solution to the Hamilton-Jacobi-Bellman equation. The action tells you how the real world works or behaves, how it evolves. The mathematics of economics is the same, the mathematics of physics. The structure of large language models, deep reinforcement learning, and world models is that of a functional transformation to a dual, that is, canonical, embedded reduced order model, and a maximization of an action that is a function of the reduced order model, the mathematics of physics. First, the canonical Gen AI must be given an education in the theory of knowledge, that is, epistemology, as one receives with an international baccalaureate education. Like a young child, this is based on experience and logic, not on training and memorization of facts that one is told by an instructor. For canonical generative artificial intelligence, this is done by imposing the canonical structure on the functional transformation via the canonical construction of the Heisenberg scattering transformation, our new zero-parameter formula, by the canonical construction of the second stage of the multi-layer perceptron-based estimation of the action function, and by the optimization of the action and of the estimation of the local evolution. The canonical Gen AI must then be educated on each subject to which it will be applied. For instance, economics, plasma physics, geophysics, topological computation, English composition, and golf. The education is given by studying a few hundred examples of how the world works. The next slide will show how that is done for plasma physics. For English composition, that would be done by studying a few hundred of the great works of English literature, as is done at St. John's College in Santa Fe via their Great Books curriculum. 273 books to be precise. For golf, it would be done by putting the ball from several hundred locations, striking the ball with a random force in a random direction and in random conditions. That is, things like the length of grass, wind, and moisture. Then observing the path of the golf ball by making a movie. Given this education, the pin location, the position of the ball, and the conditions, Canonical Gen AI, BNZutu, will tell you the direction and the force to strike the ball to make a hole-in-one. Think of a book and a plasma simulation as a golf putt. It only takes hundreds, not billions of putts, because there are only tens of coordinates in the reduced order model, not millions of field parameters, coordinates in the image. Canonical Gen AI is naming the physics in a few notes. The notes are the non-stationary spectrums found by the Heisenberg scattering transformation. If you know how physics changes as a function of scale, you know the physics. This is renormalization. BNZutu characterizes and controls complex systems by discovering the simplicity of those systems. The complex world is a symphony of tens of notes, that is, non-stationary spectrums. The complex world is not a Byzantine evolution of million-pixel images forming movies. Therefore, BNZutu only needs to study a few hundred putts, evolutions, books, videos, and so on. BNZutu does not need to study billions of those. BNZutu took a course on the physics of fusion target design by studying 539 videos of fusion target evolution. Here is a video of a plasma putt. Starting from random initial conditions as determined by 6 parameters, that is, the temperature, the aspect ratio of the diameter of the cylinder to the thickness of the cylinder, the size of the liner perturbation, and the orientations of the dipole, tripole, and quadrupole perturbations. Given this education, BNZutu can determine the initial conditions to make a plasma hole-in-one. That is, optimize the fusion target and drive design so that it yields the maximum amount of energy. BNZutu performs near the theoretical limits for energy consumption, data requirements, and performance, while the current generation is many orders of magnitude, like 10, from the theoretical limits. BNZutu discovered the 7 meaningful canonical dimensions and their physical meaning. The BNZutu model now has the potential to simulate with high fidelity the implosion in 1 core second. Canonical Gen AI can generate world models. Thereby, Canonical Gen AI is a collective controller of elementary fields, plasmas, fluids, weather, chemistry, biology, that is, systems engineering or complex systems in general, human brains, that is, psychology, societies, that is, religious philosophy, political science, and sociology, and economies, that is, economics, finance, and operations research. It can also generate extraterrestrial models of the cosmos, and so on. At a high level, the BNZutu innovation is the characterization control, that is, friction-free investment or optimization, and stabilization, that is, arbitrage trading or lubrication of collective systems, using topology and a new theory of the physics of collectives or fields. Collectives are fields or swarms of elementary particles, charged particles, molecules, celestial bodies, economic entities, and so on. Deep generative AI done right is the characterization, control, and stabilization of collectives, instead of resorting to the addition of dissipation, that is, friction or interest. This AI-enabled control is like the active control of an F-16 fighter, except for a collective system. Instead of applying a force field is applied. This has been a grand challenge of physics, mathematics, computer science, economics, and finance. The business, economic, scientific, and engineering impacts are breathtaking. This one advancement leads to breakthroughs that enable fusion energy generation, topological, also known as quantum, computers, financing of long-term capital investments like green energy and healthcare, friction-free business and economic investment and trading that is vastly superior, think dollars, to existing interest-based methods, jet engine mufflers, commercial supersonic flight, the grand unified theory of fields, true innovative and creative artificial intelligence, weather control, for example, rainmaking, and so on. Thank you for the time that you have taken to learn more about BNZutu. Now for some bonus material. Why is there an elephant in the middle of the room? Isn't this the obvious question to ask? Isn't it scientific malpractice not to ask this question? Unfortunately, this is exactly what has been happening with AI, fusion energy, and crypto. There has been an elephant in the middle of the room, and no one has asked why. Let's start with AI. Why does AI take so much energy? Hundreds of megawatts, not 20 watts, like the human brain. Why is AI such a slow learner when compared to young children, performing at a pre-toddler level, taking more than 1 million times longer to learn and requiring more than 1 million times more observations, according to Alison Gopnik, a professor of child developmental psychology at the University of California, Berkeley? Why is the current AI a sociopath, completely lacking empathy? Why is AI research not reproducible? Why was moving from sigmoid activation to rectified linear unit activation a big AI breakthrough? Why have convolutional neural networks in an autoencoder configuration to and from a reduced order model been so successful for both generative pre-trained transformers and deep Q networks? Why is the action optimized? Why do deep Q networks solve the Hamilton-Jacobi equation? For that matter, why do deep Q networks add a viscosity term to the Hamilton-Jacobi equation? And why does AI assume a statistical equilibrium then use the metropolis method to solve for the diffusion models. The situation is no better when it comes to fusion energy. Why does the Teller-Ulam device work so well at large scale and so difficult at small scale? Why does twisting the target stabilize it? Why is there an inverse turbulent cascade in 3D? Why is there a mode merger in 3D? Why do you always get a twisted pair or two twisted pairs? Why do things that should make things better make things worse? Why do things that should not make a difference make things better? And why are the experiments not repeatable? Finally, crypto is an enigma. Why is crypto mined? Wasting more than $1 trillion of energy? And why do some cryptos pay interest? We at BNZ Energy have answered these questions and developed BNZutu, true canonical generative artificial intelligence, using watts, not megawatts. Canonical generative artificial intelligence is a two-stage canonical autoencoder that is a controller of collective systems. Its input is a measurement of the fields, and its output is the force field of control. The first stage is the Heisenberg scattering transformation, followed by a principal components analysis, giving the reduced order model. It is not a deep convolutional neural network with trillions of parameters as in deep Q networks and generative pre-trained transformers. The second stage is a multi-layer perceptron with rectified linear unit activation with thousands of parameters that estimates the canonical generating function. This forms the two-stage decoder. It is followed by a two-stage encoder. This approach to AI is solving a system of partial differential equations by a functional transformation to a domain where the motion is trivial, that is linear, then transforming back. It also can be viewed as topological characterization and control. The two-stage canonical autoencoder is finding the analytic function whose Riemann surface, that is manifold, has the topology of the collective system, and whose non-stationary singularity spectrums are the Riemann moduli or topological indices, that is, the integrals of the Chern-Simons 3 form of the collective system. The circuitry of the HST plus PCA is most likely found in the primary visual cortex of the brain, and the circuitry of the MLP with ReLU is most likely found in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Note that the action is the approximate Q function of deep Q networks and the approximate score function of GPTs. The approximation parameters theta are the canonical momentums capital P, or as Jan LeCun would say, the relevant variables or latent actions. The canonical coordinates, capital Q, are the irrelevant variables. When you look at Jan LeCun's technical talks and papers, he says that, number 1, the system is in dynamical, not statistical equilibrium. Number 2, the system is parameterized by relevant and irrelevant variables. That is, canonical momentums and coordinates that are solutions to the Hamilton-Jacobi equations, capital P and Q. AI knows the global consequences of local actions via the function capital S sub P of Q, little q. Number 4, the objective is systems control. Number 5, The solution will be found at the intersection of physics, math, and AI. And most importantly, number 6, AI should be using watts like the human brain, not megawatts like GPTs and power plants. This is Canonical Gen AI. Canonical Gen AI is the solution that Jan is seeking and says must exist. We have found it. BNZutu is a business and scientific advisor, an oracle. BNZutu, the oracle, will answer questions that make a difference. Make this investment, make that trade. Build a fusion reactor like this. Form your qubits by doing this. Drill your well at this location. BNZutu is the next generation, energy efficient, generative artificial intelligence that replaces the trillion parameter model with a formula. You ask, what is that formula? Equation 42? The reply is, equation 42 is a calculation of Heisenberg's scattering matrix, the fundamental specification of a canonical field theory, that is, the m-body scattering cross-sections or m-body Green's functions, a logical mathematical calculation of the non-stationary renormalization spectrums for Dirac, or the Wigner-Weil transformation done right. The answer to life, the universe, everything. BNZutu is the Swahili word for the outback. Utu is the Swahili word for empathy. The word in Zulu is the well-known Ubuntu. BNZ Energy Incorporated is my company, whose guiding principle is empathy. Deep Thought is the computer in A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. My company's product will be BNZutu, true generative artificial intelligence that uses watts, not megawatts. Deep Thought's answer to the ultimate question, what is the answer to life, the universe, everything, was 42. The formula is the key technical breakthrough on which my company is based. The expression for the Green's function, capital G of Z, appears as equation 42 on page 181 of the book Conformal Mapping, written by Nahari. No kidding.
Many millions of years ago, a race of hyper-intelligent, pan-dimensional beings got so fed up with the constant bickering about the meaning of life that they commissioned two of their brightest and best to design and build a stupendous supercomputer to calculate the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Oh, Deep Thought. We want you to tell us the answer.
The answer to what?
The answer to life, the universe, everything. We'd really like an answer. Something simple.
I have to think about that. Return to this place in exactly 7.5 million years.
Is it finished?
No, there's more. There's more. They go back.
What, 7.5 million years later?
That's right. They do.
Deep Thought. Do you have
An answer for you? Yes, but you're not going to like it.
It doesn't matter. We must know it.
All right. The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42.
42?
Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
Give us the ultimate question then.
I can't. But there is one who can. A computer that will calculate the ultimate question. A computer of such infinite complexity that life itself will form part of its operational matrix. And you yourselves shall take on new, more primitive forms and go down into the computer to navigate its 10 million year program. I shall design this computer for you, and it shall be called...
BNZutu is a controller of a topological, also known as a quantum computer, that enables BNZ Energy Incorporated to lead the transition to sustainable energy. This was pointed out at the beginning of Episode 8, Season 2 of the Hulu series Paradise.